Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeremy Holston. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the director of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois. Super duper excited to have all of you here with us today as we dive into talking about apprenticeships. For those of you who are not familiar with us, the LGBT Chamber of Commerce is a statewide chamber dedicated to supporting LGBTQ and ally owned businesses. Pretty much like any chamber, we connect our members to marketing, networking, professional development, and advocacy. One of those most valuable resources is the LGBT Business Enterprise Certification. So, those businesses that are 51% or more LGBTQ owned are able to access getting the LGBT Business Enterprise Certification, providing them an additional tool in being able to do business with corporate and government entities. But today, I'm super excited to talk more about how we can be a partner in helping our small businesses and medium sized businesses and large side businesses be able to better create workforce programming to prepare for the future of their companies, to be a better partner in creating diverse talent pipelines, and really just being a better employer here in Cook County. We have a number of exciting panelists who will be able to join us today to really share some information about what an apprenticeship is, what it is, how it's worked for their organization, as well as some resources that you can tap into to really make this functional for your organization. For us at the Chamber, we are really excited about this opportunity because, as some of you may or may not know, here in Chicago, there are limited apprenticeship opportunities available for LGBTQ individuals. We find, for the most part, that there are programs where people can get a certificate, they can go through training, but there's no either payment, no pay provided during that training, or they go through the training and are not provided a sound employment opportunity upon completing that training. So our hope is to be able to long term figure out how we can be a partner in helping businesses who are members or here in Chicago create opportunities to better employ and integrate LGBTQ folks into their programs. And so, if that specifically sounds like something that you're excited about, we'd love to be able to have a conversation with you about that. So again, as Kendi said earlier, again, be sure to drop your name and company name in the chat section. Drop those links to your website, your LinkedIn. Let us know that you're here with us. Be sure to keep your audio on mute, but you're more than welcome to use your camera so we can see those great smiling faces as you get excited about all the information that we're sharing today. To help us dive in, I'll turn it over to Kendi to help us get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And Kendi, I'll turn it to you.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy. Good afternoon, everyone. Jeremy, just a big thank you again for having us today and giving us the opportunity to talk to your members and share information about apprenticeship. I've worked hard with my team to line up a really great agenda for you today. First up, we're going to hear from Morgan Diamond from Young Invincibles. Morgan has been working at Young Invincibles for over 2 years in Illinois and will hopefully give the answers to some of these questions around apprenticeship, what it can do for your business, how it can attract talent, and how it's really an investment in your business long term. So with that, I will turn it over to Morgan, and then we'll, after Morgan, we'll have a panel of 3 panelists giving different perspectives about apprenticeship, and then we'll have time for Q&A. If you have any questions during this time, please put them in the chat box, and I will ask them of Morgan, and or the other panelists or of myself. Morgan, so happy to have you.
Great. Thank you, Kendi, and thank you, Jeremy, for having me today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can give you a little bit of information on what apprenticeship is. So let me see here. You all can see my screen. Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. let's see here. Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties, folks.
Okay.
There's some system preferences. Okay. It's saying that I would have to quit Zoom. So I will send you all the PowerPoint afterwards, but I can just walk you all through it if that would be.
Morgan, I have your presentation. You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and if you want to just get started, I'll let you know when I have it.
Okay.
Can you give me screen sharing too, Jeremy? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that technical difficulty, everyone. But just to give you a little bit of background on who Young Invincibles is, we're a national nonprofit organization with a regional office here in Chicago. And our mission is to amplify the voices of young adults in the political process and expand economic opportunity for 18 to 34-year-olds. So we are a research and advocacy organization, and we specialize in higher education, healthcare, and workforce development issues. A few years ago, we did roundtables throughout the state of Illinois, asking young adults, what is it that they needed in order to earn a living for their families and build wealth? And so time and time again in the focus groups, the young adults said that they needed to have, perfect, thank you, that they needed to avoid the crushing amounts of student debt that were often associated with getting a quality job. And they also wanted to have a career and not just a job. And so we took that information back and landed on apprenticeship as a great policy solution that we wanted to advocate for. So as you see on the slide that Kendi brought up, apprenticeship is essentially an employer-driven strategy to train individuals on a specific occupation. So it's a combination of on-the-job, hands-on learning with related technical instruction that is specific to the skills needed for a given occupation. To drive down just a little bit further, and Kendi, if you could go to the next slide for me. All right, so to drive down a little bit further on the 5 components of an apprenticeship, the first one, as I mentioned, is business involvement. You can't have apprenticeship without businesses guiding every step of the curriculum, providing that hands-on training and providing the mentors who can help guide the apprentices on the specific occupation skill set. Another component of a registered apprenticeship, and I'll give you a little bit more background on what it means to be registered in just a moment, but another component is structured on-the-job training. So structured on-the-job training means that the individual who's an apprentice will get that hands-on experience in a structured fashion so that they make sure that they're getting the competencies needed for a particular job. Related instruction is RTI. You might hear some apprenticeship professionals talking about, but related technical instruction is essentially that kind of classroom component of the apprenticeship where people can get more of the theoretical background on the job that they're applying for. I say classroom, but the related technical instruction really can be provided in a variety of settings. It could be at a community college, for example. It could be at the actual employer's site. It could be online, especially in light of COVID. It's really whatever works best for the employer. Number 4 is rewards for skills gained. So as an apprentice gains more experience and more knowledge about their particular occupation, they earn more money, because apprenticeship, one of the benefits for job seekers is an earn and learn opportunity, so that people don't have to kind of take on those opportunity cost of going to school while struggling to earn a living. And then 5 is the national occupational credential, where at the end of an apprenticeship opportunity, the apprentices gain a credential from the Department of Labor stating that they have met the competencies needed for a particular occupation. Next slide, please. So there are different types of apprenticeship. The slide that I just showed you mentioned registered apprenticeship, the 5 components of a registered apprenticeship. So essentially what that means is the Department of Labor, the US Department of Labor, has created, has vetted a number of different occupations to see what competencies are needed in order to be a successful employee in that particular occupation. And so there are over 1,000 different occupations that the Department of Labor has gone through a rigorous process to identify that those skill sets needed. And so a registered apprenticeship is essentially working with the Department of Labor to meet those standards. There's also a non-registered apprenticeship, which can still be high quality, but it's not recognized officially by the Department of Labor. Going up to the top, a pre-apprenticeship is essentially a boot camp that will help people who might not be quite ready to enter into the rigors of an apprenticeship program get those essential skills that they'll need in order to be successful. A youth apprenticeship is almost like a pre-apprenticeship, but it's specifically for in-school youth, high school youth, usually juniors and seniors, to get that experience while also earning some wages, and then hopefully creating a pipeline of young adults into a particular industry or occupation. And then lastly, the industry recognized apprenticeship, jumping to the bottom bullet point, is a relatively new program with the Department of Labor that's kind of a blend between registered and non-registered. Some of the qualifications needed in order to be an IRAP, is the abbreviation, are not quite the same as a registered apprenticeship. So we'll see what that looks like. We haven't officially launched many here in Illinois. Next slide, please. So apprenticeship versus internship. We often hear these sometimes used interchangeably, but in reality, they are two separate training models. So an apprenticeship is usually longer in duration than internships. It's 2 to 6 years, whereas an internship usually is about a semester, or it could go a little bit longer. But apprenticeships really are a commitment on both the apprentices and employees or employers' part. Pay is required in an apprenticeship, whereas of course for internships, many of us might not have been paid in the internships that we were a part of. And like we talked about a little bit ago, the pay goes up as the apprentice gains more skills. Apprenticeships also have that OJT, or on-the-job training. It's a hands-on training that is specific to a given occupation. And an internship, on the other hand, while you might have on-the-job learning, it's not necessarily specifically related to a given occupation. Many of us who are interns might have been making copies or getting some coffee, of course, skill sets, but not necessarily related to the given occupation. And then at the end of an apprenticeship, you do get that nationally recognized credential that I mentioned, but an internship, you don't necessarily get that. You might get some recommendations for future employment opportunities. Next slide, please. The good thing about apprenticeships for employers and for the apprentices themselves is that it is a very flexible model based on the needs of the employer. So you can structure as an employer the apprenticeship based on whether it'd be great to have people learn all of the information they need in the classroom first, which is known as kind of a front-loaded model, or you could have a segmented model where you alternate between classroom related technical instruction and on-the-job learning, as you see on that third slide, or excuse me, the third row. And then on the traditional model, it's kind of a blend of classroom and on-the-job learning that kind of tapers off as an apprentice gains more and more skills. But regardless of whatever model an employer chooses, the apprentice will still get that nationally recognized credential and rewards for skills gained. Next slide. Thank you. So what are some of the benefits of apprenticeship? One of the benefits that's great for employers, of course, is that you get highly skilled employees who have been trained specific to not only the needs of your company, but they've been trained on the equipment at your company, for example, or even just in the work culture. There's also just reduced turnover costs because both the apprentice and the employers have invested a lot of time and energy into the program. And so everyone, there's demonstrated loyalty to people who have gone through an apprenticeship program. It's a lower investment in recruitment, kind of related to turnover cost. There's higher productivity because you have people who are well trained in your specific employer environment. And it's just a great ROI. There's still studies being done on what the exact ROI of apprenticeships are, but it's about $1.50. Some people have said it's even more for the employer. So next slide. So I think that is it for me, but I'm again happy to take questions as they come up. And again, thank you for having me.
Great, thanks, Morgan. That's so helpful just to set the stage for what our speakers will share. So we have an excellent panel. One person did ask a question, I just wanted in the chat box, Morgan, about if your Young Invincibles is the statewide chapter. They were asking about just the geography of that. So I did put in your national website, but I also wanted to see if you could respond to, I wasn't able to just find your state page, but if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat.
Sure, I would be happy to.
Okay, great. So we have a panel of 3 speakers, all giving different perspectives today about apprenticeship. First up, we have Daniel Sirota from Aeon Corporation. Daniel has been working on apprenticeship for a very long time. Aeon is also a sponsor of the Chamber. They're a huge supporter of us at Cook County and all the apprenticeship work we're trying to do, and we're really excited to have Daniel with us. Daniel, take it away.
Well, look, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to speak to you today. I am Daniel Sorota. I'm part of the public affairs group within Aeon, and probably my favorite part of my job is talking about this, especially with what we're seeing at the election and everything else going on. Apprenticeship, I see such opportunity, not only in Illinois, but across our country as we, as an organization look to expand our workforce. And what I'm excited to talk to you today about, something we invested in 4 years ago and kind of took a risk, but it's paid off in the future. And I am really fortunate to also be joined by Megan Perella, who is also who's part of HR, that this is something that from the beginning, we saw as a workforce issue that apprenticeship helped solve the problem. So 4 years ago, we had a problem with our entry-level positions that too early, too often, people we would hire from 4 years of college would leave 6, 7, 8 months out of the job. And we also had a great partnership with Harold Washington College that we would bring in interns. They would be here 3, 4, 5 months, and then they would leave, and then we wouldn't keep them. And that was an issue that we saw, that how do we bridge that gap to being able to bring in talented individual from Harold Washington, take a model that we already had in the UK and bring them in for employment. Not only to the fact that, we had the retention issue of losing people 4-year degrees that would come in, but there was this gap of what job, why do we always hire someone from 4 years of college? Why can't we bridge the gap and bring people in from the community college that we then were stuck with, right? And we then were able to then bridge in to create an opportunity for the long haul. So we had a partnership with Harold Washington. We actually brought in a bunch of employers in our sector, and we looked at the curriculum and we said, how can we create a curriculum that fits the need of the business, the job description, and then have an earn and learn model where they're working and earning at the same time? And, Morgan kind of showed it on the graph. We have it very segmented, right? Where they're going to work 28 to 32 hours per semester, and then they're going to school at the same time, 18 to 12. And every apprentice is different based on how many courses they have. And what Aeon has done is we actually pay their salary, we pay them benefits, and we pay for their school. And at the end of the 2 years, they're full-time within us, and they're moving forward in the same path as someone from 4 years. But let me tell you, they're ahead because they've been here 2 years. So they understand our business. And once they get in the door, no one's asking where you go to college. It's getting into that door. It's getting that opportunity and being able to show yourself long-term. So we then, from all of this in 2016 with 25, I knew Accenture was also doing a similar path. And we kind of combined heads and said, let's not just focus on Aeon and Accenture. Let's focus on the ecosystem. Let's focus on small and mid-sized employers. Let's focus on other big players in the space to then create a network. So we created what is known as the Chicago Apprentice Network, which now from 2 employers, we added Zurich, we added JP Morgan Chase, Walgreens, Chicagoland Chamber is a partner too. We're now up to 42 employers and 740 apprentices across Chicagoland. And we're growing and we're continuing to grow. And it's the goal of creating opportunities at the local community college level, but also changing the stigmatism that you have to have a 4-year degree to work at a big company downtown or a small to mid-sized company downtown. And there's local partners that you can partner with for the future. So, Candy, I hope that was helpful as kind of a toss up to then, pass the baton to my next panelist, and hope I can answer any questions as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I heard a rumor that you might have the Apprentice Network might have a new tool coming out.
So yeah, we're gonna have a website.
website. I didn't
that's gonna
wanna-
be no, it's fine. And I would love to being able to share it with this group. We have an upcoming networking event actually next Thursday.
Okay.
Morgan, I don't know if you hint on it. It's National Apprenticeship Week. Big week next week. We're gonna have a
Yes.
networking event virtual. We're gonna show the tool. And the other thing with the tool that it's great. We're gonna have a website portal for people to come to, but it's built by apprentices. This is all ran, it's all managed, it's all, we have 6 apprentices from 6 different companies kind of managing and running it. And I think that's the best part of it, that they're going to be overseeing the operations of it, et cetera. And I would love, I'll forward the invite to everyone on this call. It would be great for you guys to come and also meet the apprentices, right? It's like, I could talk about this all day long on the Aeon's ROI. I think Morgan hit on ROI. It's also more than just dollars, right? I think it's more about the talent side of diversity that you're bringing into your company, right? It's getting people to think differently to help change the way, for us in insurance, we got a bad stigmatism of old white male, and that needs to change. And it's one of those things that apprentices coming in at the entry point, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, they're going to be the next executives within our company. And that's what we want to see change in within organizations across the board. So we'll make sure to send you the invite to the networking event, but that's going to be kind of the launch of the website as well.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I
of course.
appreciate that sharing the invitation. Next up, we have Matt from National Able. He's the Chief Program Officer and a colleague of mine in the Apprenticeship Expansion Program that's funded through DCEO, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. National Able is an amazing, workforce development and community-based organization that Matt will tell us all about, but they have a really cool partnership that they're going to share from a different perspective. And with that, I'd love to pass it along to Matt.
Thanks, Kendi. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this group, and this is definitely something that I too am passionate about. Just as far as talent development and making sure that we're creating sustainable pipelines of talent for businesses, sustainable, diverse pipelines of talent, I should say. I think that's a really important piece of the work. So a little bit about kind of my organization. National Able Network is a nonprofit entity. We've been around for a little over 40 years. We are based in Chicago, but offer services throughout the Midwest and serve roughly around 75,000 job seekers per year. That's funded through a variety of federal, state, and other types of grants, as most NPOs are funded through. But we focus solely on workforce development issues. So ensuring that the businesses that we engage with can have a match with unemployed individuals who are looking for work. That is our sole purpose in our work. So back in 2012, we created a vocational training program called IT Career Lab, which really focused on IT infrastructure needs. The reason that this was created was because we felt as though, and frankly, we heard mostly from our business partners that there was a need for something that was a little more of a long-term training program that focused on ensuring that individuals had real skills that they could then apply to the workplace, but also actual certifications that were portable and meant something within the industry. And so we created this program with the help of our business partners, and it went really well. We are now serving roughly about 300 people per year through our program. A multitude of individuals finish the program within 16 weeks, get great jobs in IT. But then, in 2016, we started to really kind of recognize a different trend. And we were approached by an employer partner of ours named Cisco Meraki. You're probably all familiar with Cisco, which creates the internet. But Meraki is a subsidiary of them that really works in high tech. And, so they approached us. We had placed a couple of folks in those networking jobs. And they said, we really want to work on creating a sustainable pipeline of diverse talent. You guys have a really diverse talent pool. You're good at this training piece, but how can we start to train folks on high tech? And I'll say that there wasn't really any curricula for this at the time. It didn't exist. It's something we had to figure out. So we worked with Meraki. First off, we got certified by the Department of Labor. We went in jointly with Meraki and got our program certified. So we are a registered apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor in 2 different occupations. And then we worked with Meraki to really craft curricula, which took about 3 months. And then they donated a ton of hardware to us to make sure that the individuals the apprentices going through the program, were able to really get a look and a feel for how it actually works. And with high tech, it's expensive. I was really happy they donated $100,000 worth of hardware. In addition to this, though, we had our instructors do a lot of the classroom side training, but Meraki sent their engineers over too. And that was huge. You know, for our job seekers and our apprentices through this program to be able to, you know, obviously get hired after the fact as part of the apprenticeship, but even if they decide to move jobs after that point, they're able to say, I got trained on this super high tech, cool internet stuff by a Cisco Meraki engineer who actually manufactures this equipment. That's a pretty big deal. So we created this apprenticeship program, and it's 12 weeks long. And to reference Morgan's slides, we're kind of in one of the different bullet points. We're a front-loaded apprenticeship. So how it essentially works is we have apprentices that start training. They're recruited for the program. Training is paid for through government grants. They take front-loaded training and earn certifications with our combination of my instructors and the Meraki engineers, get certified, and then go into jobs. And what we've done is Meraki obviously didn't have the capacity to bring on everybody into employment. So we started to work with other employers as we got this program off the ground to ensure that we were meeting their needs. And what's really cool about working with a huge enterprise level organization on the development of this program is that they were able, their product is recognized and used throughout the continuum of the IT workforce. And so all of these little managed services companies, and frankly, even some larger employers came knocking at our door saying, I heard you got folks that are trained in using Meraki hardware and their apprentices. How can we get involved? And so our program works again on the front end where we train people, and then they're placed into that on-the-job training piece where they start to earn immediately. Typically, our company picks up the payroll for the employers to start as an incentive to grow the program. We did a good job of that for the past few years, and now we're expanding our employer base even more. And then employers bring them onto their payroll. We were really lucky to have the governor highlight our program a few months ago during the throes of COVID, kind of the mid throes of COVID. So you may have seen a press release about that at one of his press conferences. But we've been really lucky. We've served roughly about 60 some people through our apprenticeship program to date. All of them are just doing absolutely fantastic. And I will say we've been really lucky with this program and focusing on IT for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't know if you know this, but IT is not a diverse industry at all. In fact, it's terrible for diversity. I think it averages like 19% women participation in the industry, and it's even worse with people of color. And so over 80% of our apprentices are people of color, and 30% are women. And so we're really trying to push this onto the employers that they need to work on hiring a diverse workforce and prioritize diversity in their hiring. And this is frankly one of the ways that we've been really successful to do it. And so that's just one of the avenues that we're using to get people hired. But we found this to be extremely effective. And more than that, our employer partners found it to be really effective. Again, we're approaching this from the demand side. I think oftentimes, people in government tend to look at supply side as a means to develop talent. And it's like, I used to call it the train and pray model, right? It's like you send someone to training and you kind of pray that they get a job afterwards. That doesn't work too well. I don't know if you know. But when we target the demand side and have employer buy-in on the front end, and they're helping to craft a program, you're really meeting their need at the end of the rainbow. So we've been really pleased with this. Our employers have been very pleased with this, and we did receive a grant to expand this even further. We do operate the apprenticeship program within the Chicagoland area. Sorry if anyone's from downstate. We are looking to expand this though into Wisconsin, most notably into Kenosha. We got some funding there, and eventually into Minneapolis and the Twin Cities area.
Great. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear that your program is growing, and that we are, just want to understand the success and how we can translate that for others. So I have a couple of questions for you just while we're, what are the two occupations, if that's?
Yeah, it's a network systems administrator and computer systems administrator. They sound the same, but they're not. There are subtle differences between the two. And so those are the two occupations that our program certified as.
Okay, great. We have one more presenter that will just give another perspective. You might be wondering, how are all these programs funded? Matt mentioned some funding. Aeon also mentioned how they see the ROI and the funding of it. But some employers might need some additional funding. And the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, or our local workforce investment board, does have potential dollars to assist employers and training organizations to ensure that there's resources for individuals interested in apprenticeship. My colleague Pat Moore is on the is going to be joining us. She's our last presenter, and then we'll have time for more discussion around some of these questions. I'm going to pull up Pat's presentation. Hi, Pat.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, Kendi and Jerome, for your kind invitation. Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to be here this afternoon. My name is Patricia Moore, and I'm a business relations specialist with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. I'm a member of the Business Relations and Economic Development team for the partnership. I'm going to move rather quickly through the first few slides to provide you with a brief introduction as to who we are and what we do, and outline our business services offered to support and assist employers with such programs as wage reimbursements and training reimbursements. So on this slide, you will see that we are the largest workforce system for Chicago and throughout Cook County. We're the largest outside of Los Angeles. Our mission is that every person will have the skills to build a career, and every business will have the talent to grow and compete. You can see on this slide that we have over 72 locations that support families and job seekers throughout the city and the county. Most of these communities have high rates of poverty and individuals who are historically underrepresented in the trades and apprenticeships. If you can move to the next slide, please. So we are working with and want to introduce you today to a project with the Illinois Tollway. This Illinois Tollway project construction works, as you can see, is a pretty large project, $4.2 million being invested from July 1st all the way up until June 30th of 2020. We were targeting, and our goal was to connect with historically underrepresented populations to introduce them to apprenticeships and employment in the building trades. You can see some of the occupations that are listed here on the screen. The minimum placement goals for this was 150 placements. We targeted 170 so we could include and increase that to 30% female and 70% racially and ethnically minorities. You can move to the next slide, please. As you can imagine, we need lots of partners to make this happen. And this is not all of our partners, but it's a good representation of them. Some of them are in the city and some of them are outside in the Collier County areas outside. And you will see there we have a good representation of labor stakeholders, community organizations, our American Job Centers are listed there, and others who support us through this program. So if you move to the next slide, please. So with the employers, first of all, the first and foremost employer would be the Tollway, but we also wanted to include small to mid-sized employers who would also want to be involved in this program. So we developed a very quick form that they could fill out. We have several roundtable sessions with employers to introduce them to the program and let them know what the services and benefits would be to participation in this program. Move next, please. So we began with some outreach, and as you can imagine, we used every necessary means to outreach to communities and individuals to participate in this program, from flyers to social media, to participation in all kinds of outreach events. And if you move to the next slide, Cindy, we'll see some of those events. Some of those events I'm pictured in, and we'll see that here we have an event with the IBEW Local 134, and also another event that took place with outside in the South Suburban American Job Centers. So all these efforts were taking place to reach and connect to the apprentices or to potential apprentices who might want to become involved in this program. Move to the next slide, please. I want to highlight some of the successes of the program and some of our participants. So outside in the Collier County area, we have Sayre Central States. And as you can see on this program, their Construct program, which is a 10-week pre-electrician program, we had 8 of those individuals accepted into DOL registered apprenticeships. Now that's a great feat in terms of getting people who haven't ever been exposed to this before to come through these programs and also be connected to a DOL registered apprenticeship. We can move to the next slide, please. In the Collier counties, they had some great connections. As you can see, 849 people were actually introduced to the program. We enrolled 106 people in the outlying areas, applied for apprenticeships for 28. 28 were actually enrolled into the apprenticeships that they applied for. And also were accepted into the program were 18 apprenticeship programs, or 18 participants who were enrolled. They had been on, they are currently on the waiting list. 23 enrollees, also participants, are employed. So that was great numbers for the Collier counties. If you can move to the next slide, please. One of our partners, the Chicago Women in Trades, a great photo here of them. Let's move to the next slide, please. Chicago Women in Trades, this is over their 2-year overview. They enrolled 156 women into technical opportunities and programs for pre-apprenticeships. 92 of those people were enrolled into our program and into our Career Connect. Now, Career Connect is our internal system so that we can connect them to not only employment opportunities, but also to apprenticeships, and also to connect them to supportive services, which is very important when you're in an apprenticeship to receive supportive services. Of those, 51 have thus been accepted into apprenticeships or construction trade related employment. Go move to the next slide, please. I want to show you, and we're very proud of the performance of this program. This is through September 1st of this year, 2020. 750 people were enrolled, employment placements for 220, where our goal was like 150 there. We've exceeded our goal already, and the program's still going all the way through until next year. Individuals accepted into pre-apprenticeship programs were 105, and individuals accepted into the DOL apprenticeship programs, 159. So we wanted to share this information with you to show you this is a large scale, but we work with small, mid-size, any size of employers to help them understand what the benefits are to them and to the apprenticeships, how and assist them in developing apprenticeships, and also connecting them to the very much needed assistance. What we can do on another slide, I showed you that we have on-the-job training dollars that can be utilized, incumbent worker funds that can be utilized. These are wage and training programs, grants that can be utilized, and we want to make sure that you're aware of those. I think we have one. This may be our last slide, but go. Okay, so thank you. I also want to just say again that this is a win-win. We work with the employers as large as the Tollway, and I'm working currently with an employer and their open lands, which is actually very, very arborist program we're developing an apprenticeship with them too, and Kennedy's working on that. So it can span from one IT, which Matt gave us some good information about, to as small as an arborist program, which is going to have 4 apprenticeships working in there. So employers are recognizing more and more the value to them and the value to the apprentices to help us support and move our communities towards empowerment and employment in the trades and areas where they can support their families, if others have said. I'm happy to stick around and answer any additional questions. I think I had a slide. Cindy, can you check one more? I think I have one more slide that has my contact information on it.
No.
Is there one more? Okay.
No, that was the last one.
Okay, so I'll put my contact information into the chat if that's okay.
That'd be great.
Kenny. So you
Yeah,
can reach out to
and the partnership website too.
Okay, I'll do both.
Great.
I
Thank you.
appreciate being here. If you have any questions,
Oh,
I'll
sure. So thanks, Pat, Daniel, Matt. I have some questions, and then if anyone else, you can, unmute yourself. We're a small enough group, and or just put them into the chat. I think the scale of the programs we shared today were bigger. I mean, Aeon is a global company. Cisco Meraki is a very large company. The Tollway has some large scale. But I think, that for us, it's one way to show you how these programs have launched and started and have had, legs under them for several years now. But I would say the majority of the apprentices beyond the building trades are focused on one and twos in healthcare and manufacturing. We're seeing this more in professional services, smaller firms like Daniel, and not the Aeons, but some smaller firms. We've also seen it in some other in the building trades, like Pat walked through. So I guess I just wanted to hear Matt or Daniel and Pat what your thoughts are about, different scale. Pat just gave the arborist, so we're working with Open Lands, which is a non-for-profit. Now starting, they're going to be the funder for the first year of this apprenticeship, and then they're working with 4 employers who will take over these apprentices. Can you talk a little bit about, advice for companies or businesses that are thinking about this, but might not feel like they have the scale or resources?
Yeah, I can start, right? I always say, always do it if you have a problem, right? Or you're trying to solve something for the future. Don't force yourself to do these programs if it doesn't fit the need of your business. And if you are trying to solve a workforce issue within yourself, whether it's retention, ROI based on investment, you're using dollars and capital to be able to, employ somebody, and or ways of partnerships and to get out in the community and hire local. These are things that apprenticeships can do. I also think if you're going to do something like this, it's a change of workforce, right? It's a change of way you're looking at yourself long-term. Start small. Start with 1, 2, 3, or 4. Don't have to jump into the bandwagon and change your entire thing. And, one of the reasons why we created a network was for employers to talk to employers. If you got questions, concerns based on your industry, I probably have an employer that's part of the network that was dealing with the same problems that can help guide you into that right direction. And from National Able to Cook County Workforce to your Skills for Chicagoland's Future, 1 Million Degrees, Jerome's group, there's so many different resources out there to help guide you. You don't also need to feel alone, and to being able to scale this, drive this, and move forward. So that's, at a high level, those are just some of the things about scalability.
Then I would like to say too that you're not in this alone, and that's for sure, because we're here to help you in terms of supporting you with some of the tools, the business service tools that can help you. It is an initial investment though, however.
Yep.
And you have to be prepared knowing that you're going to have an initial investment, because as I spoke before about customized training, on-the-job training, incumbent training, these are all reimbursements, things that can help you. Reimbursements for training, reimbursements for wages, but they are back-end reimbursements. It's going to be an upfront investment if you have the time and the funding to do it. As Kendi and everyone else mentioned, you can start small. It can be 2 people, it can be 1 person, but you get started. And also there's resources out here. Kendi is a resource. She is a navigator. She will walk step by step with you through the process so that you can develop it so you're not alone. I'm here to support you in terms of the reimbursements that are available to businesses, and I'd love to connect with you if you have any additional questions about that.
I think, the one piece that I would add too is being nimble when you're thinking about this. And that's a really critical thing for businesses to keep in mind. When we got approached by Meraki, it was really a joint effort because, we saw a need, they saw a need. But one of the problems that we had initially was, frankly, just having their HR department examine their job requirements and make sure that they actually fit what the job was. And that seems really odd. And I know Daniel talked about this a little bit, but ultimately for the apprenticed occupations that our apprentices go into with them, they ended up removing a bachelor's degree requirement because it was a huge barrier for them to be able to bring on talent and to develop this sustainable pipeline. And so, really as a business, start to think and examine those job descriptions to ensure that you're not getting in your own way as you start to think about and develop these types of programs.
Mindy, I was like, Kendi, you're so mute.
Yes, sorry. Questions or feedback from anyone? Jackie.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jackie Richter from Endurance and Heels and Hard Hats. I wanted to thank Patricia for her input on this and shed some light. We're in the utility industry. We work for Exelon ComEd and Nicor Southern. There's a lot of opportunities that have been in, especially Exelon's program, the Exelon Build program, and Nicor has their own. And we too, we haven't been on the benefit of getting any reimbursement, but we've grown our own workforce with a diverse workforce. We take pride that we're running 65 to 70% diverse right now. We do a lot with the local unions, union locals, operators, laborers, and with Endurance being an IBEW company now, in getting people in the unions and getting them in apprentice programs. We're more than welcome to talk to anybody that wants to, try to get individuals started. We've been doing this since 2013 when Heels and Hard Hats first really made an impact in the utility industry. I think it was 2019 we got an award from the state for diverse workforce development. But our company is based on giving people opportunities because of me. I couldn't get a job, because I was transgender back in the day. I was 300 applications, 6 of them said, leave your girl clothes home and come to work as a male and we'll hire you. And I realized that this is what we face, these hardships of employment, and it's across diverse communities. And these opportunities are huge. They're needed. I don't think anybody in here today knows how this election is going to turn out. If it turns out the wrong way, the only chances and opportunities we're going to have is by corporate America. And that's through companies like, or organizations like NGLCC. We get that corporate support that we need ever so much. I will put up my contact information if anybody wants to reach out to us. We're more than happy to discuss it further. And I was very much impressed by what Patricia had to say. I'm very familiar with Chicago Women in the Trades and a lot of other women organizations. And this is the way that, we can uplift many people in our various communities. I think it's great. I think it's a great meeting that you've hosted, Jerome. As you know, that this is my passion. So I thank you all for coming today. We're here to help. My phone's going to drive me nuts.
That's great, Jackie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so
please
much.
put your information in the chat, and and Pat's information is in the chat too if you want to connect with her.
Yeah, Jerome put it up there for me.
Okay, good.
He knows to take care of the elders. All right, thank you both very much.
Yeah. So I have another question for our panelists. Where do you find your apprentices?
Yeah, I can start. So we all over Chicago. So it all starts with partnership. And what we've tried to do is create an ecosystem with the nonprofit community, the community college system, and others to really recruit from within. And one of the things that we've done is really create it just like any other job. It's posted on our website. People are able to apply to it, go through the process, and that's kind of how we find our recruitment from.
And is that primarily, so just the people get they're aware of what Aeon is doing about apprenticeship, and then they just go to your website, but they're really being promoted this opportunity, and your ecosystem, as you said, understand what it is.
Yeah, correct. And we have the job description, we have everything else, but we also utilize other organizations to being able to promote to that type of population more broadly, right? I think it's open to most. And then we've actually started working the CPS angle as well to try to also educate college counselors and others that 4-year degree might not be the right path if you got to drop 150 to 160K to go to 4-year college, when you could just get a job down the street and go to your local community college.
Yeah,
And that's something that I also think is important as we start driving the future of work and kind of the future of what is to come.
sure.
4-year degree might be not a requirement for a lot of employers. And if we're able to change that narrative to help people save money and not be in debt for how long, this helps create the next, opportunity for people to save over time. So that's also an angle in a way we're approaching our apprenticeship program as well.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to share, Young Invincibles has some local committees, and I know one of their early, their youth committee, that's one of the issues that they have identified, was that there's just not enough high school counselors who understand about apprenticeship and who see this as a real option. And one of the things that I thought it was so interesting that they the group talked about was, everyone understands a 4-year degree, and it's standardized all over the country and in our state. You talk about apprenticeship and it can come in lots of different forms. And so I think it's one of the things that we have to do while we're out giving talks like this and, engaging in panels. But we're also just thinking about, how do we talk about apprenticeship in a very consistent way and show that this is such an amazing opportunity. So it's great to hear that, you guys are out talking to that same group, or, to that same population.
Yep.
Matt?
Yeah,
Pat?
Kindy,
Matt,
so
go ahead.
we find folks all over the place. I mean, we turn over rocks, stones. I mean, it's pretty nuts. No, so we actually have a recruitment team who's set up to fund or to recruit for our IT career lab, just program in general. And so throughout the course of what they do and the various avenues that we go through, they're able to identify individuals who really kind of fit the mold for what we're looking for and are frankly interested in the apprenticeship program. One of there's a lot of tools we use. Social media. We've done paid ads in the CTA before. We work with obviously we run a lot of American Job Centers kind of throughout the area, and so we're able to leverage those relationships with both internally as well as our partners to identify unemployed individuals. I will say recruitment has sadly been a little easier during the time of COVID. I think a lot of people are looking for kind of recession-proof occupations, and frankly, COVID-proof occupations, and IT tends to be in that vertical. So we haven't had too difficult of a time, but in the past, yeah, we've run ads on Craigslist, LinkedIn. We do any community providers tend to refer quite a few people, and we've received some reverse referrals from our employer partners as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kendi, I'd like to say, first of all, we've been very fortunate in connecting to the apprentices based on our relationship and our wide network of American Job Centers and other community-based organizations. That was probably one of our least challenges in terms of getting people involved. We also created flyers. We created a URL where they can connect directly for people who are not necessarily connected to the American Job Centers, with our faith-based organizations, our community-based organizations, social media. As you may have seen in my slides, we had over 750 people to come and enroll into that program just for the Tollway. But it was an all-out effort in terms of utilizing people we already have in our Job Ready network that were interested but had no clue how to get involved in these type of apprenticeships, and then also with the organizations that we partnered with, and then employer referrals as well. They come to us and say, here's what we want to do, such as the ones we're working with now, but they don't know really how to do it. So we tell them that we can connect you with Job Ready and people who are wanting to go to work and want to be involved in apprenticeships. And we've been very successful in doing that through our network.
Great. Well, as we're looking at the time, we have 5 minutes left. I wanted the opportunity just to share a little bit more about the Apprenticeship Navigator, the role that myself and my colleague Lenora Daly is on the phone as well, or on this call. The Apprenticeship Navigator is a DCO apprenticeship expansion funded role that we are here to help all businesses, all sectors in EDR4, or the Economic Development Region 4, which is Cook County and then the 9 northeastern counties in the state of Illinois. Several of my other colleagues from around the state are also on this call, and they can be of assistance. I'm just going to share a couple websites that I think would be really helpful if you're interested in this, and then I started to put some of these in the chat as well. And then if you have additional questions, please keep putting them in the chat. But this is one where I find, I think it's really helpful to understand how the state of Illinois is helping businesses and identifying resource. So this is the Apprenticeship Illinois page. So if you just Google into Apprenticeship Illinois, and then to find a navigator, again, this is within that page. Oh, there I am. There I am. And there's Lenora. And so we're your contacts. So here's our information in terms of our emails and our phone numbers. But again, you can see that we have, we're all over the state. There are 8 of us. There's 2 here in EDR 4 because of the size of this region. We have almost 8 million people within our 10 county region. So it's a lot of residents and businesses to serve. The other, I think that Daniel mentioned is, oops, I thought I brought it up. Oh, the Illinois, there is a tax credit. This is another resource that's in the chat. I won't go into too much detail, but you can get up to $5,000 for each apprentice every year. And that is something that I can assist you with as well. It is Apprenticeship Week coming up next week, as Daniel mentioned. So there will be additional resources. There's a few, the state or the federal DOL has a really great website, and they've been doing a lot for Apprenticeship Week. But I prefer to share some of the Illinois tools just because they're very localized for our businesses and groups. And the last thing I'd be remiss, and we haven't spent too much time talking about today, is how are we responding especially from the Cook County Bureau of Economic Development, where I'm housed out of, dealing with COVID. And I just wanted a quick chance just to show some of these small business assistance tools that we've been developing. This is on our website. So cookcountyil.gov, there's webinars, we have some financial assistance, we have some coaching assistance, and just other resources to share. Again, I'm here as a resource to all of you on the phone. I really want to just give another big thanks to Jeremy for hosting us today and giving us the opportunity to talk to the membership. I wanted to thank Morgan for helping set the stage, Matt, Daniel, and Pat for being my awesome panelists. I just wanted to say thanks again, and please do not hesitate to reach out or call. Jeremy can connect you. I'm going to put my information in the chat too, but we look forward to talking to everyone about apprenticeship. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the
Thank
invitation.
you very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Be healthy.
Bye.